reached the 7,000-mile mark, also known as the top of the ridge that we'd been heading up. I never thought I could be so happy to see some dirt packed flat. But there I was. I was so overjoyed that I didn't even notice the path widening out into a clearing until I almost walked right into the back of my date. I pulled up abruptly behind her, and in the moment before my brain caught up to what was going on, it fed me some weird little details. Some of the hair had finally wisped out of her ponytail, and she was standing really still, like she was trying to not even breathe. There was even a bead of sweat running down the side of her neck, which I took as a win. Sure, I'd dripped out enough salt water to fill a manatee enclosure, but she was sweating too. So this hiking thing was hard for everyone. It wasn't just me. About then, my eyes managed to focus on what had brought her to a dead halt. There was a wolf on the other side of the clearing. Wolves are a lot bigger than you'd expect. That was the first thing I noticed. Next, I spotted the size of its teeth, since it was snarling at us. It took a while to look away from those yellowed fangs and stop imagining just how much damage they could do. The fur along the length of it was thick and rich with a swirl of browns and grays. There was a smell hanging over the whole clearing, like a wet dog, but acrid, sharp, and musky. The whole thing was surreal. I didn't even think there were any wolves in the wild around here, let alone frothing, growling, furious wolves that were bigger than me. I wish I could say that some heroic instinct kicked in and I jumped forward to protect my date. And maybe I would have, had I been given enough time for my exhausted brain to catch up. But the wolf didn't give us that chance. In one bounding step, it closed the distance, drool trailing from its jagged jaws. Finally, my body decided to move, and I threw myself to the side, shoulder barging my date into the dirt and catching the wolf's jaws on my arm instead of her throat. Guess those hero instincts were in there, somewhere. But I didn't have much time to be pleased because there was a wolf gnawing on my arm. That was going to hurt really soon, but for that initial moment all I felt was the heat inside his mouth. The wolf snarled at me, and I screamed right back at him. My date was scrambling back to her feet, but I had enough presence of mind to yell, "Run!" at her before the wolf started yanking on my arm like I was a rag doll. She stood there staring at me for just long enough for me to think she wasn't going to listen, expressions washing over her face too fast to follow. Then that good old-fashioned survival instinct kicked in, and she ran for her life back down the trail. Good. That was one problem taken care of. Sure, I was about to become a snack, but at least the girl who'd spent all day aggressively ignoring me was going to be all right. The pain was coming now. Nauseating waves of it every time I felt the teeth grinding on my bone. My screaming probably wasn't so defiant anymore. Nothing could have prepared me for the sensation of the bone cracking when the wolf got a good grip and really bit down. I punched the wolf in the face. Then when it still didn't let go, I punched it again. I might have been twisted off balance and dragged halfway into the undergrowth before I realized I could fight back, but now I was ready. I was hurting and I was angry, and this overgrown chihuahua was not about to have me for dinner. The next swing hit it right on the nose, and it let go of me with an undignified little yelp. We both jumped back from each other, then started to circle each other like it was a boxing match. I just wasn't sure I'd make it through another round. We'd completely swapped places by the time it occurred to me that I could run for it too. Guess running never came naturally to me. When it came to fight or flight, I'd always seemed to be missing the second part. I never wanted to give anyone the satisfaction of seeing me scared, even when it got me my ass kicked. For once, it looked like fighting was the right choice. With a trail at its back, the wolf turned away from me, looking for easy.